Okay, our next presentation deals with the use of data and analytics in CPG marketing. Our speaker is John Gardner, president of Luckie. John, take it away.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, and hope everyone can hear me okay. I've also got Mandy Harvey sitting with me, who is our senior analyst on our consumer packaged goods practice here at Luckie & Company. We're excited to spend a few minutes with everyone online to talk about three approaches in consumer packaged goods that hopefully we can share some of our experience of how we have taken vast amounts of disparate data, whether it's quantitative, qualitative, or provided POS data, to drive insights that allow us as a marketing and advertising agency to better drive demand for our clients. So with that, we'll get going. So the three brands that we want to touch on today are Brown-Forman, Cetaphil, and Little Debbie. We're hopeful that the crowd here has heard of these three. It's interesting, as we were preparing the presentation, I could see the connection between some Brown-Forman products and Little Debbie. Cetaphil is probably an outlier as we think about things we want to consume. So let's start with a trivia question, or a poll question. So if you don't mind, it'll take just a few minutes. How often does data or analytics inform your business decisions within your company, your function, or your brand? So if you would go ahead and take about 5 seconds to give us an answer, we'll go from there. All right, we'll give everybody a couple of seconds. So interesting. We like to see this. Daily is obviously the big bar. Those that answered weekly or monthly, hopefully you'll take some insight from here that if we constantly are using derived insights, it allows us to be more powerful marketers and stewards of the brand. One of the things that the folks that answered daily, we would be interested to know how that is presented to you, hopefully in an interactive environment that allows you to drive decisions rather than just a static report of how did we do yesterday. So let's go to the first case study, Brown-Forman. Brown-Forman is located in Louisville, Kentucky, and as most people probably know, are distillers of spirits, also own vineyards, and have a huge presence in the alcohol and spirits markets here in the U.S. So our challenge with Brown-Forman when they came to us was to not focus so much on just the brand development, because I think most people know Jack Daniels, and we don't have to develop the awareness there. Our challenge was, how do we drive demand for the spirit category of the funnel in non-traditional consumption time? So we focused on football season, or as we called it, the tailgate. And our approach was to take a look at the NFL. And to look at how football could drive a new purchase occasion beyond the holidays, the traditional holidays, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's, Mardi Gras, those types of things. So could we create over an approximate 20-week calendar demand creation within that? So our approach was to, and I'm going to let Mandy jump in here in just a second, but what we ended up doing is looking at all available data to create a demand model to try to relate this to a media mix model and then a media optimization funnel. Mandy, would you like to jump in?
Sure. So first of all, through quantitative and qualitative research, we were able to identify that the largest opportunity specific to NFL fans wasn't those who were tailgating on site, but it was actually those who were having watch parties or gatherings at their home. So once we were able to identify that target, we set out to understand them on a deeper level. And we used some syndicated data from Nielsen and MRI, and we were able to identify those fans across the country who do host get-togethers. And then we focused in on 5 key states who were the best opportunity for improvement based on some sales data, density of the target there, the restrictions of sales within the retailers that we wanted to focus on, which were specifically CVS and Kroger. So focusing in on those liquor laws and things that may prohibit, we were able to focus on those 5 states, and then we created an efficiency score, which considered the time of the day, the time of the week, some TV ratings within that market, the presence of home or away games, the popularity and success of key players, and the likelihood that that consumer may have a friend on the opposing side of a matchup trying to get more people in the household to drive further sales, and then the team ranked based on the current standing.
So the idea here was to take this vast amount of available data, marry it with, as Mandy mentioned, syndicated data on index consumption. But then we also looked at some POS data through our partners to understand in our markets what was the time of day or the time of week as we prepare for an event, when we should be in market. And this was a digital-only campaign, so that in some markets the pregame or the tailgating activity would occur early to midweek, and in some markets it was last minute. And it varied by grocery and drugs. So we noticed that CVS tended to have more of a weekend last minute, where Kroger tended midweek Wednesday to Saturday. But brought all of that together to understand how we would pull that off. As we looked at the strategy of localization and customization, we knew that we would still have holidays within this time period. And so by being able to leverage the NFL footprint and look to ways in which to drive that incremental occasion and refine the media. Mandy?
Yeah. So we wanted to be sure that we were creating dynamic content that could shift with the changing efficiency scores, but we still wanted it to feel customized to each consumer. So on top of the main components of the segmentation, which we already mentioned, we also considered channel habits and product preferences to ensure the content that we were serving was still relevant to each consumer and felt like a personalized message. And once we were in those markets, those 5 key states, we utilized a test and refine approach. And we optimized as the season's landscape changed, and we made improvements to see how creatives were performing and which geographic pockets really started to stand out so that we were best serving our media dollars as well as channels.
So as Mandy mentioned, optimization is key. And with analytics, if we go back to our poll question, is the advantage of having access to data and insights is to be able to make strategic decisions very rapidly. And that's what this dynamic segmentation process is for us, is being able to marry insight at a local and a personalized level and drive it at that moment of need to accelerate demand. So if we look at the chart before you, agility are critical to our pathway. The campaign that we created, we called it Pick 6. It involved dynamic digital and contextually relevant advertising, as well as data mined paid social with a mobile hook. We've developed customized landing pages per market that allowed for example, in Indianapolis, it was totally different than some other markets. And then we definitely created a social connectivity, tied it to our retail locations, so they would know where to go get the product, and then tied it to a measurement component. The other critical component as we think about customization, localization, and optimization is to allow the user to personalize and meet them on whatever device and whatever screen was most advantageous to the end user. How'd we do? Based on data provided back to us from Brown-Forman, we drove 30% increase during this flat demand period. And as they like to tell us, we'll drink to that. Any questions on Brown-Forman before we go to case study number 2? Okay. We will we have another poll question. So we take about 5 to 10 seconds here. Which analytics functions are the most important to your business? Check all that apply here. So we have reporting, optimization, modeling, both media mix and attribution, and predictive, and then real-time reporting, i.e. dashboard, and then segmentation that goes beyond just qualitative. So if you take a few seconds and answer these, that would be phenomenal. Love the answers there. It looks like the audience is heavy into the data, looking at, obviously we knew reporting and segmentation would be at the top. One of the things that I think is critical when we think about analytics and insights, it does not become a synonym for reporting. And when we think about segmentation, always looking for segmentation to be driven off of multiple axes. So making sure we're using classification data that would be defined, let's say, as geography or demographics, descriptive data, which would be psychographics, motivation, lifestyle, media consumption, and also introduce transactional data, whether it is purchase or response, social media data, as we develop our segmentation. So we'll go to the second case study of how data can be used to help drive demand for consumer packaged goods. It's a brand called Cetaphil. Cetaphil is an iconic brand that has been in the market for years, and in the last 15 years has enjoyed tremendous growth. The product is considered an OTX product, distributed grocery, mass, and retail. So we were early on with Cetaphil, as they were primarily distributed through dermatology distribution points, whether it's through recommendation or referral of a dermatologist or a nurse. We moved to consumerize the brand. So the brand came to us and said, how do we maximize the consumer demand and profitability, not just professional? And so our solution was to really determine the value of data to drive demand. So when we looked at Cetaphil data, we had the ability to look at the dimensions here of, we had vast amounts of demographic, self-reported and studied brand awareness, media perceptions and preferences. We also had the luxury of e-commerce and coupon redeem data that allowed us to model the customer behavior, and then we were able to bring that into digital engagement and social media engagement. So what we did there is we created a simple model. So we used a correlation model. So I'll give you an example of how this works very simplistically. So a perfect positive in a correlative model would be the number of hours studied versus your grade. You see a perfect 1. The inverse of that would be a perfect negative, which would be the number of beers versus your grade. So a perfect positive and a perfect negative. What we were looking for is what the data attributes that we had available to us, how they correlated to profitability. So we ran a model. This is an example of a more realistic correlation analysis, so you're scattered. So what we did is developed a model, and we're able to identify that referral, whether it is social or word of mouth, was the most important driver of customer profitability, lifetime value, and profitability. So 1 in 11 people that would be considered loyal Cetaphil users tell they on average tell 11 people about the brand, either word of mouth or socially. So we wanted to understand what that model would look like, and so our correlation model looked like this. And so it was, what was the correlation of the referral of somebody who would refer the brand to a friend or family member as it related to profitability. And this is what it looked like. So for every, how we use this is, so for every 1% increase in referral, we were able to attribute a 77% increase in profitability lift. And so after we were able to run the analysis, I think as a brand marketer and understanding how to drive engagement and customer interaction and loyalty, we had to activate it. And what we did was went early on into social channels and point of sale. So it may seem simple, but for a product that is regulated like a pharmaceutical because of their active ingredient, we had to step into social media with intent, and we were able to very quickly monetize the demand creation of engagement. So being able to show what that return would look like. Okay, so I want to be cognizant of time. So next poll question, 5 or 6 seconds. How valuable is consumer segmentation to your business? It has a financial impact, strategic impact. So far it's made no impact on our business, or you haven't done consumer segmentation. Good, good. Thanks everybody for participating. Got a couple of respondents that haven't done consumer segmentations, which we would highly recommend because it allows you not only to create creative relevance, it allows us to channel media and consumer investment based on that segmentation. And I love the idea that segmentation is driving a strategic impact. So in the next few minutes, I think we have about 5-7 minutes left in our session. We're going to talk to you about Little Debbie. It's an iconic brand that has become the #1 bakery brand in the country. We're very proud of that. We've worked at Luckie with Little Debbie since 1982, and we're charged with helping launch a new product, mini muffins, in support of Little Debbie. And so let us talk to you a little bit. Mandy?
Yep. So as part of the relaunch, we were faced with the challenge of driving incremental sales for a product that's pretty specific to the morning day part for a brand that's iconically known for their snack cakes, which are typically consumed as an afternoon treat or possibly a dessert. So in order to find a unique solution for them, we turned internally to the data experts within both the qualitative and quantitative disciplines that we have here. We know that we need to allow data to lead us through everything that we're doing, and it ultimately led us to 6 concepts for our target of millennial moms. So the truth that we found through our focus groups, so we held these focus groups that provided real-time feedback as well as electronic feedback. And then we later analyzed everything that we received through text analysis to identify trends in sentiment or phrases. In addition to those focus groups, we spent some time with their sales data because we really wanted to see where the trends were and if they were tied to any demographics or psychographics that we could leverage. So through studying many families in their homes, out of their homes, and in focus groups, we found one thing that really stood out, and that was the craziness of mornings for moms. So regardless of the time that you're getting breakfast in bellies, the morning of a mom is hectic, and we wanted to let moms know that we're here for them, and we wanted to serve them through our product. So we employed a strategy to celebrate moms with their struggles, their triumphs, and the love that they share in a captivating and engaging way. So in order to do that, we wanted to cast actual families, and we followed them through their normal morning routines to try to be as authentic as possible.
So we're going to show you a quick video that I think encapsulates a lot of what Mandy said here. I think it's important as we set up the strategy that historically Little Debbie had based a lot of their decisions on advertising and marketing on qualitative research. They have a huge initiative underway to look at data and to make sure that everything they do has a measurable response. It's probably resonating a lot with what the folks on the phone are also facing. And we thought it was a phenomenal market leader approach to use all available data, not just to say how are we doing, but to say where are we going. And I think you can see some of the results. So I'm going to hit play, and hopefully it works well.
We asked 150 moms what their life was like in the morning. We heard from chaos to calm and everything in between. Then we asked which of the 6 mini muffin campaigns was the best reflection of that. Moms of 7 a.m. spoke the loudest. So we pulled back the curtain on 3 American moms of 7 a.m. and let them tell their story.
Introducing Moms of 7 a.m. A candid conversation about the mayhem of mornings, a few rules to live by, and Little Debbie mini muffins that help make the start of the day a little more manageable. So join the movement and take a peek behind the curtain at the crazy mornings of 3 American moms of 7 a.m. at littledebbie.com/minimuffins.
We hope you enjoyed that. Little Debbie is just such an iconic brand, and the people are so fun to work with, and who doesn't want to unwrap a smile? It's just so much fun to work on a brand like Little Debbie. So as we move into the post campaign, is our again the theme I think you will hear resonating from us is how do we personalize, localize, and optimize?
So throughout the process of this, once we had those concepts, we really wanted to employ kind of a test and expand approach here. So we tested in 10 priority markets for effectiveness, just to see how that content was resonating with the audience and was it actually driving incremental sales. So from there, we scheduled our media strategically. We wanted to correspond with Little Debbie's focused market months as well as their direct mail drops. And once we were able to kind of refine the concepts and the different channels that we wanted to serve through, we rolled out nationally. We employed some of our owned media, such as the website, and we also created a custom landing page for them with some interactive content, some things that were downloadable and printable for children. And then we also utilized social media to interact with our audience to see how they were feeling about the campaign. We got some funny feedback, and it was really interesting to see how everyone felt about it. And then obviously we employed that through all of our paid digital channels that we were using. So throughout this, we were able to see how a really targeted approach can be rolled out nationally from a media perspective, and we were able to figure out the best way to spend those dollars throughout the campaign, as well as refine the creative concepts in order to make sure that they were as relevant as possible to the audience that we were serving.
So maybe I'll get you to follow up a little bit on, because we do have a few more minutes that we've been graciously granted. So when we went about the media targeting, what were some of the factors that helped us optimize the media?
So first of all, when we were choosing the priority markets, we look at things like BDI and CDI. We want to know what the category development is in that area, what the brand development is in that area, specific to our brand, as well as competitor brands. We also came up with lookalike audiences in our media, and we also looked at competitor brands. So we utilized Nielsen in order to create 3 specific segments so that we were able to look at 2 of the main competitors of us to see how their audience would respond if they were served ads from us, as well as our own Little Debbie fans who we know and love, and we want to make sure that they're getting content that's relevant to them. So from there, we were able to apply those learnings to see which audiences of the competitors were kind of latching onto which creative, and if we needed to serve them different concepts or a different family. and then we moved forward from there and scaled up. So some audiences, at first, maybe it was an even split the 3 ways, and then we kind of optimized throughout the campaign to see which audience were responding the best in terms of incremental sales, because we are able to see where those consumers live through all of the data that we have. So we want to know which geographic pockets are popping at all times. We want to know which audiences are in those geo-fenced areas, and then we want to make sure that we're serving them things that mean the most to them, that ultimately drive sales for the brand and loyalty.
Excellent, excellent. We'll have a few minutes. We're about to wrap up for questions for Mandy or I. So, question that I'm sure you would ask is, how do we do? And luckily, Little Debbie has given us permission to use this data that's available in the market. Is we were able to drive an increase in year-over-year sales. We are also able to increase the unit market share, which was growing the market as well as growing the product. And I think this is the most important for us, is that we were able to get consideration in a very competitive category from a competitive brand that we targeted into the Little Debbie brand, and ultimately make sure that we were able to deliver a return on ad spend off of 350 million impressions in multiple channels. So our message here is, we hope you rush out and grab a box of mini muffins, because they're fantastic. With that, let's ask a couple of end questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. And so, which are your most important sources of data? Focus groups, surveys, sales and distribution data from your operations group, website or digital metrics, media impression and click-through data, or social listening? So if you'll take a few minutes and select the most important to you. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, and I think our takeaway here is that using all of these available sources of data and understanding how they relate to each other can make us better marketers. It can make us better stewards of the brand, and help us understand when to create and when to intercept demand. Real interested in the social listening. I think that is one that it surprises us how high it is, and well done, because we think social listening is an excellent source of immediate feedback on how things are going. Really like that. So last question is, what are the biggest challenges in using data in your business today? You know, I don't know how to access the data or can't get to it. I'm overwhelmed by the vast amounts of data. I struggle to understand how it informs what I do or my strategy. We wish my team or I was doing more with data. Or a fair question is, what the heck is data? Excellent. And this is in my 20-plus years of being involved in data and analytics in this space. I think that's the biggest positive that I have witnessed, is that we've gone from an environment where people don't know how to get to data. We're in this big data, moving towards artificial intelligence, machine learning environment, where now I've got to use my data more effectively because it's expected. The red line there, or I wish I was doing more with your data, I think is spot on, and that's something that in almost every engagement and partnership that there's always incremental value that can be derived from different sources of data very rapidly to gain a return on that marketing investment. With that, again, we hope you will reach out to us. I apologize. I can be reached at Luckie.
We do have one question. John, we do have one question that came in. Refers to your Brown-Forman example.
Yes.
Can you explain? Yeah, can you explain your analytical process for Brown-Forman?
Yes, absolutely. So from Brown-Forman, what we did is we took a combination of retail data of, for example, when sales were occurring of product. We looked at consumer consumption based on distribution data from Brown-Forman. And then we looked at syndicated data. What is the likelihood sales of our product? Are they likely to entertain? Are they host? And then we brought it all into a model and developed this efficiency score that allowed us to go in marketing and through week 17 constantly optimize. Mandy, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that our analytical processes here at Luckie, it's not just the front end. And I think that's what a lot of companies struggle with is there's a great setup and there's a great understanding of what the plan is going to market, but from there you have to be able to constantly pivot and optimize based on the response from the market. And that's what we did with Brown-Forman, and we really set it up from the beginning to allow us to make those pivots by kind of setting it up as a customized yet templatized thing. So we were able to, in real time, make updates to what was in the market to better serve the consumers, to ultimately drive more loyalty to the brand, to those products, and to those retailers that they were in.
Excellent. Okay, another question, John, that came in. Were any of these programs able to leverage retail support, such as displays, features, etc.?
Absolutely. For example, the Cetaphil example, through our analysis, we were able to work with the shopper marketing group at different national retailers to work on digital referral programs at shelf, create opportunities at a store-by-store level with promotions that tied to the segmentation and the models that we created. Brown-Forman was all driven by retail support based on positioning of product and working with the in-market support. For Little Debbie, because it is a directly distributed product, we have our teams in retailers every day. We were able to work with our sales and distribution team to work with retailers at literally a store level to impact what you saw today.
When did these examples take place?
As far as time of year?
Time of year, right.
Yeah. For Brown-Forman, it was it's fall-based during football season. Little Debbie is year-round, but a heavy up on back-to-school time frames because it is targeted at the busy moms, less so emphasis on summer. And Cetaphil is more targeted towards the colder versus the warmer months.
Okay. Another question, John. What is the best use of a small budget for small startups to get leads?
My answer is absolutely start with data and understand how to. If we've only got $100 to spend, take the time to understand how to get the biggest return on that $100 the fastest, so that the exponential and incremental investment can be multiplied. So my recommendation is to, for small budgets with lead generation, understand your segment the audience behaviorally and psychographically, invest very quickly in lower cost media, digital and social to drive instant results, and then amplify as fast as possible the channels that are working, and build that fluidity into your test and learn approach.
Okay, another question. Where do you think analytics within marketing is going in the next 1 to 2 months? I mean, 1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years, I'm sorry.
It is it is only going to become more critical. When I started in this business, consumer packaged goods were driven a lot with retailer relationships and creative packaging and promotion. What I have seen is a movement to bring the analytics team into the sales and distribution process for CPGs to quantify an investment, to understand how to not only deal with contract pricing with retailers and promotional dollars within the retailer community, but I see analytics being critical to the CFO. From a brand perspective, what we're seeing is decisions on data is being driven down into the marketer level versus the analyst. So I envisioned in 24 months that all brand teams have their own analyst, and it's not a PhD or a Master of Decision Sciences.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That's all the time we have for questions, and congratulations. That was an excellent presentation. We always love specific examples like that. And if you have further questions, you can reach out to John Gardner, john.gardner@lucky.com, and there's the website. So thank you both. That was excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great day.